Hey everyone, welcome to Logan's Mosh Pit. Glad to have you here. So today we're going to do another episode of the Breaking Down Songs series, the place where we take a closer look at some of my favorite songs from all kinds of different bands and analyze the lyrics, because when we do that, we gain a deeper appreciation for the music we listen to. If there's a specific band you guys want me to talk about in a future video, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you want to see next. If I like the band and I'm pretty familiar with their discography, I'll probably do it. So this time we're going to talk about Jimi Hendrix, guitar guru, guitar aficionado, guitar extraordinaire, guitar god. Jimi was all those things and more, Jimi did some incredible things with the guitar that people had never seen before, things that other people only dreamed about but couldn't actually do themselves. He also came up with a ton of unique chords. He was the one that started it all. He did some outstanding bends and vibratos on stage. He had some really big hands and long fingers, which helped him reach certain chords that were challenging for many people. He was quite the character on stage, He played with his teeth and set his guitar on fire. He was absolutely wild. Created a ton of memorable moments. And he influenced so many guitar players. A lot of beginner guitar players still to this day look up to Jimi Hendrix and name him as one of their inspirations. And it sucks that Jimi died so young, in his 20s. His fire burned bright for just a few years, then all of a sudden the flame was snuffed out before he could really reach his full potential. So it's sad that we never got to see what else Jimi would do. But we should be grateful for the albums we did get during his short lifespan. So first I want to tell you guys what my favorite song is from each album that Jimi Hendrix released before his death. So starting off with the marvelous debut album, Are You Experienced? I picked a song that often gets overlooked, Love or Confusion. I don't understand why people overlook that song, because I think it's a fantastic tune. Next up, from their second album, Axe as Bold as Love, I picked Spanish Castle Magic, another great tune. Played that song live quite a bit. Next up, from Electric Ladyland, Jimi's last studio album, I picked the famous Voodoo Child Slight Return song. Much beloved song. One of the most famous Hendrix songs. A fan favorite for sure. Finally, I just threw this on here. But since it was released before Jimi died, I have to go with the live album, Band of Gypsies. I picked Power of Soul. That was a song I figured why not throw on there, because it was technically released in 1970 before Jimi passed away. So it was tough to narrow down the choices, but in the end, just slightly, I picked Spanish Castle Magic is my favorite, so that's the song we're going to break down today. But before we do that, I want to give you guys some background on the Axe as Bold as Love album, which Spanish Castle Magic was off of. It was released in 1967. It was the follow-up to the outstanding debut album, Are You Experienced? What many fans consider to be Jimi's finest work. I happen to agree. It came out just 7 months after Are You Experienced, so obviously Jimi was pretty busy coming up with new songs, releasing new material. It went platinum in the US and gold in the UK. And it had the singles Up From the Sky / One Rainy Wish on there. And you might not know that Jimi actually hated the cover art for this album. He disagreed with the cover art completely. He didn't want that cover art to be released, but got overruled. But he wasn't a fan at all. And another interesting fact, during the production of this album, Jimi actually lost side 1 of the LP tape. So they were rushing to get everything fixed and remixed overnight. And of course, Jimi got aggravated during this process because he showed a really professional side in the studio. He wanted each song to be the best it could be, so he was willing to go through as many takes as it took to get what he wanted, the best final product. So this created a lot of conflict between the engineers and the producers of the album because Hendrix liked to take up a lot of time to make the songs absolutely perfect, and he would demand a lot of retakes from them. Even though Axis Bold as Love wasn't as successful as their first album, there's still some memorable songs on there. There's still going to be some tracks you enjoy, just not as many as the other albums, but there's nothing wrong with it. It just sucks that there's so many block songs on YouTube. This is kind of a side note before we really start, but I just noticed while I was doing research for this video, going through a bunch of Jimi Hendrix songs, there's almost no original Jimi Hendrix material on YouTube. A lot of it has been blocked, or they're just being covers shown instead of the real thing, which is unfortunate. I don't know why YouTube takes down so many of those videos. I don't think Jimi would appreciate it at all, because as fans, we want to hear the original material. So, it sucks. But anyway, let's get to the lyrics of Spanish Castle Magic. Just keep in mind, before we start, this is just my interpretation of the lyrics. It's my opinion. My opinion might be different from yours, and that's fine. We all view these songs differently. They all sound different to our ears. There's no right or wrong answer. The beautiful thing about music is it can be interpreted countless different ways. So let's respect each other's opinions. Be kind in the comments. So starting things off with verse 1, it goes like this. It's very far away. It takes about half a day to get there. If we travel by my dragonfly, no, it's not in Spain, but all the same, it's a groovy name. And the wind's just right. Hey! So I think verse 1 kicks things off by telling us that they're going on a journey. It's not just a short trip. It's not just a brief getaway. And it also talks about the importance of being able to use your imagination. Like, you don't always have to view the world in a literal fashion. You don't have to look at things and derive meaning from them just based on what you see. So there's a shift in tone within the first verse. You can hear Jimi's voice getting louder. It sounds more excited. And I think that signals how you're getting closer to the destination that they mention in the song. So now we get to the chorus. It says, hang on, my darling. Hang on if you want to go. Here it's a really groovy place. It's just a little bit of Spanish Castle Magic. Hear that distinct Hendrix dialogue in there. But the chorus talks about how your first visit to a new place can be very breathtaking. It's like you can't handle the rush of emotion when you step into a new place for the first time. It kind of reminds me of the first time you go on a vacation somewhere, like to a special resort or whatever, but you don't have enough time to take in all the sights or do everything you want to do. Same thing here. I think that's part of the charm of what Jimi's talking about. It takes time to absorb everything you see. It's about letting go of words to describe things and just relying solely on your feelings to express how you feel. And I think Jimi was big on that, feelings over words. At least that's what I hear when I listen to his songs. He tries to convey feelings instead of words. So now we move on to verse 2, which kicks off with, the clouds are really low, and they overflow with cotton candy, and battlegrounds red and brown, but it's all in your mind. Don't think your time on bad things. Just float your little mind around. Look out. Ooh. Okay, so this part represents how we're happier as kids. I think that's the message Jimmy's trying to get across with those lyrics, with the cotton candy and all those descriptions. How we're kind of naive to the destruction and torment we can witness, but that becomes more clear as we get older. We just don't realize that as kids we're kind of oblivious to all the negative energy out there. And here you can kind of reclaim that naive innocence, childlike innocence, that carefree attitude you had before you grew up. It's about putting your worries behind you and, again, just focusing on having a great time, not worrying about trivial things, just enjoying the moment and letting everything else worry about itself. So then we go back to the chorus, and we have an awesome guitar solo. You wouldn't expect anything else from Jimi Hendrix. Then we get to the bridge, which says, "It's all in your mind." Yeah. So I think the bridge is about how you can use your mind as a powerful tool. The mind is more powerful than we understand because it can transform, or you can kind of detach from that negative environment that you're in and move yourself to a happier place, a place where you feel relaxed and content. Then you have the chorus again and the outro, which goes, "Oh yeah, it's all in your mind. Everything's going to be all right," to end things. And I think the outro is basically matches the idea of the bridge. You know how the mind can take you to places depending on where you want to go. You just have to visualize it and you can actually transport yourself there if you try hard enough. So that ends the song. There's not much lyrics there, honestly. It's mostly just guitar. So now that we've analyzed the lyrics, let's talk about the mood for a second. What kind of emotions do you feel from this song when you listen to it? Well, personally, the only way I can describe this song, along with most Jimi Hendrix songs, is intensity. Because Jimi Hendrix has a trademark, you know, how he uses calm lyrics, but he also escalates that to a new level with his guitar playing. It's kind of a contrast there between the wailing guitars and the relaxed lyrics. It's kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum coming together. But this song is a real headbanger. I mean, this is a song you'll definitely get engaged in when you listen to, and it's a real treat to hear. So now let's go over some themes. Some themes I picked out from Spanish Castle Magic are, like I mentioned, having fun or being able to forget about your stress in life for a while, being able to put that stuff out of the way, and about how you can create your own reality. That's an underrated skill that we often take for granted, but if you concentrate hard enough, you can escape your reality and go somewhere more peaceful. And finally, the last theme I noticed was, like I said, the difference in mentality between kids and adults, what they view as priorities. You know, adults have all these responsibilities, but kids just care about having fun. So it's touching on that in the song. Now, let's go over the most memorable line. The most memorable line that stood out the most for me was, "It's all in your mind," because you hear that song repeated a few times throughout the song. It's really trying to hammer that point in. But I think that line emphasizes the themes we talked about earlier, about being able to change your environment based on your thoughts. So let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses of this song. I think the biggest strength is the guitar solo, because it's almost like when Jimmy plays the guitar, this sounds weird, but the guitar talks to you. You can actually hear what the guitar is saying. I think the guitar is an extension of Jimi. He projects himself onto the guitar and brings it to life, and in a way that others couldn't. Jimi has that skill. Then you have the delivery of the lyrics, Jimi had a very distinct and recognizable way of putting in certain words like the oohs and ahs, and just the language that he used was very reflective of the time he grew up in. Then you have the consistency of the lyrics, because you have all these pieces coming together. I think all the pieces fit together really well. And it seems like, even though the lyrics are complex on the surface, once you actually look at them and try to understand what he's talking about, I think it becomes a very simple message. So the only weakness that I found in the song is it's too long. The song tops out at 6 minutes, and by that time you're a little burnt out. I think he could have shaved off about a minute of the song, made it about 5 minutes long instead of 6, because it felt like the guitar took up too much of the time of the song. The guitar parts lasted over half the song, so I think he should have included maybe a few more lines in there and cut out a little bit of the guitar solo, because the guitar solo easily lasts about 3 minutes, and by that time you're kind of zapped of energy. But that's just a minor complaint. Guitar solo still sounds amazing, but it could have been a little shorter. That's all. So finally, on a scale of 1 to 10, how replayable is this song? How often are you going to want to come back to this song? Well, I would give it a 10 out of 10. It's not the most well-known Jimi Hendrix song. It's not the song that most fans think of when they hear Jimi Hendrix, but I think it deserves attention because it's got everything you could ask for in a song and more. And it leaves a lasting impression on the listener. It gives them a satisfied feeling. And Jimi played this song live a lot. And Jimi had a rare gift. It's rare for musicians to sound just as good, if not better, live than they do in the studio. Jimi absolutely did. He left it all on the stage. So, yeah, that does it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. By the way, I left a link in the description if you guys want to listen to Spanish Castle Magic. I think you'll enjoy it. But I'll see you guys next time. Until then, rock on.